Alright, back on this crank. I did my math wrong. So, our crank pin is 12 tenths undersize. So that's 12. The rollers are 2 tenths undersize on both, so that's 4 tenths. So you add 4 and 12 together, you get 16 tenths. So that's a thou and a half under, basically. Okay, we only want 9 tenths clearance. So that means we have an extra 7 tenths in there. Now that's assuming we were at a stock diameter crank pin, which we are not. That's our standard dimension. So we have to make up that 7 tenths by going on the other direction in our scale. So instead of being a 0 and being 2 in like I had it, we need to go 7 up. And we were only 5 at the tightest spot on the out around rod, which is our male, and the female rod was pretty even. It was a 0 to 1 under. So that was 8 tenths too small. So that works out to being we need 4 tenths bigger bearings to make up 8 tenths. So the next thing is these cages you can't get oversized, so you only make one cage standard. So I just measured the roller dimension here. This is 320 thou long and 575 long. So I went over here to my bearings, and the late rod roller long, which is this one right here, is 575, so that should work. The short early roller, which is our 51 roller, this is 51 to 71. These ones are 330 long, so these are 10 thou longer than what the cage is here. So I don't know if that cage will allow me to put a 10 thou long roller in there and still be adequately loose. If it is, I can use that cage and make it work. You're still short rollers though. It's not the best setup in the world. Or I could just sell them a late aluminum cage setup and put in there and not worry about mix and match all this crap. It's cheaper for me to change rollers than buy a cage and change rollers. So, just back over here to my holding fixture. I'm going to pull out one cage here. Over here. Take out a roller. And I can actually measure it correctly. Here's some 4 tenths over rollers. Well, I might have to go to 6 tenths to actually get the full amount. That's not uncommon. Sometimes rollers are on size, other times they're not. Doesn't matter what they're marked. Okay, so this is the early roller. So this is 51 to 70, 71, 72, whatever you got to change. I think the cage changed to 72, but I'm not sure. Okay, this is 335 thou. That's actually what this one measures. Okay, the one that came out right here is 322. 15 thou different. So now we're going to measure we can measure the cage, or just put the longer roller in there. 335 roller. And it does not fit. Oh, there it goes. It went in. It went in tightly. So it's pushing it, but it's in there. Alright. 323 is not the one I want. 335 is the one I want. So, how big is this cage? The cage is 340, 339. Oop. 339. Now this caliper is not very good. It's a crappy one. It's off by about 3 thou, so I think we only got a couple thou clearance. So you have to put these in from the inside going out. So we're sticking the side of the cage. See if I can get any kind of clearance I can feel. I can't really feel any clearance. It's not binding, but it's no extra. You can't really feel it. There's some grease in there, so it masks some of it. So I'm going to guess at best we got 5 thou clearance. More likely we only got about 2 to 3. 2 to 3 is probably enough you can get away with it. But if this cage shrinks at all, or squash a little bit from the loading on it or some type, it'll lock the roller up and you'll lose the crank. So to me, it's in a pinch you could probably make it work, but it's pushing it big time. Do you really want to risk it? And you're only getting 16 rollers instead of 17, so I think the best option is go to the 72 to 86 bearing kit, which is the aluminum cage one, and then you have to worry about it being too tight. It'll have plenty of clearance to float around and not worry about it failing, and you'll have more bearing area. So I think that's the option we're going to go with. This could physically work, but it's not worth the risk. I don't think it is anyway. So that is an out option. Alright, so I'm going to go get me a cage set up. I'll be back. Okay, there's my bearings here. Okay, these are 4/10 over bearings, and they should be 7 on the veneer, and they are closer to 6. So they should be 9. They're 4/10 over. 5 is standard. 4/10 would be 9/10. These ones are closer to 6 and 7. They're about 6.5. So they're only 2/10 over, even though they're marked 4. But the bearings are marked the bearings are standard. They're 2/10 under. So there's 4/10 difference. I need 4/10 difference. 8/10 total. So these will work what I need to do. Get rid of all this crap. I'm not going to use this junk. So these are the new aluminum cages. Same ones that come in the Taiwan Teddy kit over there. So these are made in Japan land. It's actually good quality stuff. So there's your Harley part number without this 2 on the end of it telling you it's 72, but oh well. So these are these cages. These here are the early cages, the 51 cages. These I don't use them because I don't know how good they are. These are brass cages. V-Twin had some cages they made which were cast iron looking. They broke. These are brass ones. Dixie made these. I don't know how good these are. I used one set. They didn't come back. I don't trust them. But I'm showing you the difference here. So you got old stuff, modern, newer stuff, and you got modern crap. Just because it's new doesn't make it better. They made it cheaper, not better. Cheaper. Remember that. Cheaper. So when you put all these rollers together, you can see how long this roller is, how short that is, and how long that one is. You can see that one's taller than that one. That's because that's extra 15 thou in there we don't have. Now y'all, if you line up the roller right here, and as you go around the circle, you can see how they're not anywhere near each other on this side. You can see how this is a finer than this one. This one's coarser. When you actually count these, this is 16 roller, 17 roller, 18 roller. This takes a long roller, that takes a long roller, that takes a short roller. So this has one more roller, but every roller is a little shorter, so overall it's probably about equal. This one has one more roller, and the rollers are longer than that one, so it's this is 2 longer than this one, so this has a lot more bearing area. So this is going to give you a lot more bearing area. If you think bearing area is a good thing to have, then this is what you do. Now Jim's makes these cages, and they're very expensive, but that's the only one makes them anymore I know of, that I trust. Now, on the other roller, the other cage, the aluminum cage, it's the same length as this one over here. Goo in my fingers. There's my thing right here. So if you look at the roller, it takes the same roller, same length. So on the aluminum cage, it's the same as that one. We have one more on there. So this has more bearing area than these stupid cheap ass ones. Now these ones here, they take two of these together. So it takes two on there like this. So if you look at the length of that one, see how that one is shorter than that one. That was a lot longer. So you see how much longer that is. Quite a bit longer. So that gives you a lot more, and it has two more bearings. So every roller is longer, and it's two more. So it's like having 2.5 more bearings. So if you're doing a high performance set, and you want to have some good bearing area, run these ones. But run good ones. I don't trust those ones. If you just want a nice standard old motor that works good on everything, use the aluminum ones. If you want cheap ass crap like this, you can buy it from S&S, and they'll sell you cheap ass crap like that. If you want the good stuff over here, you buy it from Taiwan Teddy. He's got the better bearing setup. So there you go. Just because it's Taiwan Teddy doesn't mean it's all bad. Those aren't as good as that. The shafts aren't as good as that. Now this crank pin is better than that crank pin over there. That thing's a half a thou out of whack. This one here, I didn't measure it yet, again, but I think that one's within 2/10 or 1/10, I forget. That thing's 2.5 tenths out of round. It's not tapered too bad, it's within one that way, but it's out of round. Out of round's worse than taper. So that's quality sucks. Plus they got too much bearing clearance. That's why I got to take up 4/10 of clearance here, or 8/10 of clearance, because the rods are out of round and they're loose. So I'm going to mock up this one here with a 4/10 over and see how much it tightens that rod set up. This rod's pretty close to size, pretty even, so it should give me my good fit when I put it on there. So I'm going to do a quick mock up, just to make sure my math was correct, because for some reason I can't think with a squat today. So those go right down there. I don't care about them. So I need some bearings right here. Lost one down here. All right. Now you kind of see what I'm doing. If you put this on a rag, it will roll everywhere. Yeah, it's too easy. So these cages hold the bearings better, so you can do dry. You don't have to have them lubed up to stay together. It has a nice flat cage. Where you going? Get back. I only lost one there. Where did I leave off? I think one went off on me. Oh, that's right. Oh, I am screwed up today. These you put in from the outside. You don't have to do it stupid like this. Just poke them in the holes. One of those days you probably shouldn't be working on valuable, important stuff like this, but it's a good thing I can do this in my sleep, because that's about how I'm thinking today. About half asleep, even though I'm not sleepy. Definitely not thinking very good on this today. Okay, every other one of those is in there. Every other one will give you a number you need. Now, if you don't have all those fancy tools to fit your rods up, the old-fashioned way is put it all together like this, with all the rollers in it. And you fit it until the rod slides over the bearings, and that means you're close. And you give a little bit of extra until you get a little clearance, and you call it done. That's how my dad used to do his cranks. He did it that way forever. It worked very well. He couldn't see out around tapers and stuff like that, but he knew how to do a job. He could feel airs like that, and he wound up doing a very good job, even though you didn't have all the fancy measuring stuff behind you to make sure it was good, to prove it was good. You let the proof be in a use of the bike living for 10 years, the motor. That's how you know it was good. It lived. Now, S&S has been having a lot of failing cranks this year on new bikes, M8s and twin cams. I know of 5 of them right now. When you have problems like this where things are put together wrong, that's why you have stuff like that going on. Okay, so now we just went up 8/10. How tight are we? Oh, we're not tight. That's more like that's how loose it was to begin with. I still got clearance like I had before. You hear it? And this one's a lot tighter than it was. It was really loose. Now, I haven't honed those rods yet, and they're still out around. But I just went up 8/10 on the bearing clearance, or dropped 8/10 out of the bearing clearance. And now it feels a lot closer than what it should be. It's a little snug, but it's close. This one feels nice, but it's out around a lot. So there you go. Like I said, I just went up 4/10 on size. I didn't do a damn thing, and it feels pretty nice. That's how far off S&S was. Not too good. So I'm going to go ahead and hone the rods to, now we're going to take our number. Here, we're going to take off 8/10 off to 7, so now it's going to be 1/10 to the other direction. So now we will hone the rod set until we're at 1/10 under our line instead of over our line, which is right where that female rod was at. It's at 1/10. So that leaves me nothing to hone there. And this one was actually 2/10 down in one spot. So I'm going to try to save it with these bearings. If I can't, I'll go to the next size up, and I got 3 more tenths to work with. I'm okay with the rods being 1/10.5 out around and tapered to them. I don't really like it, but I prefer to be with 1/10 or less. But it's not end of the world if it's only 1/10.5. But the crank pins being out 2.5 is not good. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll hone these out slightly and see if I can save that dimension. I think we already checked the rod alignment straightness, so they were straight, I think, now. So that part's been done. So now it's just a matter of doing some honing. So let's get that handled. And I still might want to go into a bigger roller yet. Now when you put all the rollers in there, it shouldn't really feel any much different what you just did, because I had enough in there. You know, half the rollers are in. There's 8 of them in there, so it should have given me a pretty accurate dimension on feel wise. Obviously, the crank pin had a big high spot or something like that. Does make a difference, but I don't know. I didn't measure for that. I only measured a few spots. Didn't measure the whole thing 100% everywhere. Just a few spots. But anyway, that's a S&S crank for you. Quality is job one, right? Yeah, sure it is. Okay, so I don't know how you're going to look at all this because it's pretty hard to see what I'm doing. Now, we can set the tripod up over here like this. And don't bump into it. At this view, you might actually be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, don't move that camera, it'll fall. Alright, so let me go and get ready, I'll be right back.